Hey guys, this is Shannon, and welcome to Patriot Memory at CES 2023 from our suite here at Bellagio in Las Vegas, Nevada. We've got a lot of really awesome stuff to show you, from brand new DDR5 models, some really extreme ones, all the way to a PCIe Gen 5 storage demo. So let's dive in and check out some of the newest, latest, and greatest we have to offer from here at Patriot Memory. So first up is our DDR5, and we started with our Viper Venom back when 12th Gen or Intel Alder Lake launched. That we had around 5200 to 6200 megahertz, and now we're able to enhance that with both AMD's AM5 offering, which has Expo support, and also Intel's new 13th Gen Raptor Lake. So we're able to really push those speeds up, change some latencies. We've got new ICs available. Firstly, we have the Viper Venom going all the way up to 7400 megahertz now. And that obviously will only be supported by Intel with XMP. Our Expo for AMD IM5, based on the limitations of that platform, we go up to 6200 megahertz. But once you go beyond that, Intel XMP is fully supported up to 7400 on the Viper Venom. Next up, we have a new introduction of a product line that you may be familiar with our Elite Series. Our Elite Series has always been kind of our entry level, our mainstream. Well, we have that one going from 5600 to 6000. And that will be Intel XMP and AMD Expo supported, and they do come in white, which means if you have a stylish white build, Patriot Memory now has the DDR5 DRAM that will actually match your custom build. And lastly, for our DDR5 lineup, we kept the star of the show for the end, and that would be the Extreme 5. We have the Viper Extreme 5, which is the Uber Elite Extreme model. It goes all the way up to 8000 megahertz. And we also have different step-down versions of 7800 and 7600. These are all A-die, and they are designed to fully utilize a 1 DIMM per channel board like the Z790 Apex, where you're looking to break records. This is not a gaming setup. This is something where if you're looking to run the best of the best, the fastest possible, eliminate any bottleneck that might exist, the Extreme 5 is the one you want. Next up, we have our familiar DDR4 line. This is because there's a lot of systems out there that still utilize DDR4. So we have all the way up to 4400 megahertz with our Blackout series, and several steps between that to best match your build. We have several performance memory options. Even if you're running a legacy system that's DDR4 based, we want to make sure you're covered. So this is not just all, Patriot's not all about the newest DDR5. We also offer several support structures, including this, and even our more baseline models like our Premium series, which we'll look at next. And lastly, for the RAM offerings from Patriot, we have our Patriot Signature series, which starts at DDR3 because we know that there are some legacy systems where people might still want to upgrade, so we ensure we have that. We also have our DDR4 and our DDR5. And we offer support for pretty much all the standard JEDEC platforms, like for example, 5600 for the newest 13th Gen Rocket Lake. So if you want something you just plug and play, you can plug these in and go. No need to even set an XMP profile, it just works. All right, so next up, from the Patriot Viper gaming brand, this is an external VXD SSD enclosure. It does not come with an SSD in it. It is designed for you to install your own SSD so you have all your storage at a high speed on the go, so you're not locked down to Thunderbolt or any sort of interface that would be limited. It will pretty much work on any USB system, including even a Type A, which the cable does come with. And instead of giving you a dongle, we actually have the Type C to Type A adapter daisy chained onto the cable itself, so you have less to lose, and it's easier to get your storage on the go no matter what your platform is. And as you can see, the tray just slides out. It's got your M2 drive along with a screw you can mount it. It screws together, and the great part about that is it has an internal heatsink, so your drive won't have to worry about throttling or anything like that. And last but not least, one of the most important parts, it has RGB. Next up, we have a special sneak peek. This is actually a pretty early prototype of our new Viper CPU air cooler. This is a new Patriot product. We have not done a CPU air cooler like this before. We took this thing, we added RGB, all of the special features, dual fans to ensure we can have a full 200 watt TDP support, along with a very quiet operation, direct touch heat pipes at the base, so we get a really fast, rapid response for the more bursty workloads you get, like on these new 13th Gen, 12th Gen, all these new chips with the very quick opportunistic boost. We want to make sure you can keep it under control, and that's where Patriot Viper is going to come through. We're going to have a cooler that you're going to be able to see. Expect you'll see this somewhere later this year, possibly even latter half of this year, depending on how the time goes and getting some of the adjustments we want to do to make this thing perfect. But you should see that coming very soon. And now we have our engineering sample of our PCIe Gen 5 drive. Now the reason I say it's an engineering sample and we're not actually launching it yet is the fact that right now the NAND speed's not right where we want it. Now, for those flash chips, we are working with our manufacturers and our partners to ensure that we get the optimal performance that we want for our Patriot Viper products. And that means that we're gonna wait a little bit. We're gonna make sure that just like with our VP4300, that we make the best drive we can, and not something that we just introduced to have it, and then a couple months later have to refresh, where customers feel like maybe they got burned by the early entry of a lower speed drive just to get in Gen 5. If we're gonna develop a Gen 5 drive, we wanna make sure it's the best we can produce. Next up in line is our VPR450. All of you are pretty familiar probably with our VPR400, which was the world's first Gen 4x4 RGB enabled SSD. Now, we've upped the game a little bit. We've got some faster flash. We're able to push this thing to over 6,000 megabytes a second sequential. It's a much faster drive and also a really awesome aesthetic, which we will put some renders of what our cooler is going to look like. As you'll see, this is a bare PCB right now because we just finished the actual initial design for the cooler right before CES. So unfortunately, we can't show you a finished unit yet. You'll see that coming later, probably around Q2. Now, if you don't need all the RGB flash of the VPR450, we have the new P450, which since you don't have the RGB overhead, actually gets a little more performance as well. So this one can reach up to 7,000 megabytes a second, which means it's now right on the heels of our VP4300. So this will be coming probably around the same timeline, probably earlier Q2, maybe a little later, depending on when we can get it to market and everything mass produced. Now, for those of you who have followed Patriot Memory for a while, you know we also make flash cards, whether it be for your drones, your phones, mobile gaming devices, tablets, or even like large shooters, whether it be 4K, 8K cameras. Well, 4K, 8K cameras, when you're talking about some of the previous V30, things like that, you can have some throughput problems, maybe some buffering, or possibly even failure to just shoot because you don't have enough throughput. So we're now introducing the UHS-2 V90 flash cards, which means you can get up to 280 megabytes per second transfer and throughput on those cards, which means you should be able to do full sensor dumps without a problem. So lastly, for the Patriot and Viper products, is I know we already showed you the Extreme 5, but we wanted to show you the live demo we actually had running. As I explained before, the Extreme 5 is best served on a 1 DIMM per channel board for you to have optimal tuning capabilities. Now, as you can see here, we have it running at 8,000 CL38. It's getting latencies in the 58.4 nanosecond range, which means you're very close to being DDR4 territory, which has always been a struggle since DDR5 launched, is to have higher latencies, which means you're dealing with, that sort of performance degradation across the board. So we've been able to fine tune these modules with an XMP profile, fully bootable on the Z790 Apex and a 13900K. So if you're an overclocker, an extreme enthusiast, these are the sticks you want to tune your system. And one last thing before we go. Patriot Memory recently acquired the industrial brand ACPI. Now this serves many things for us. This allows us to service far more customers, large industrial complexes, things like that, machinery, robotics, and any endless number of verticals for us. It also expands our SMT capabilities, our engineering possibilities, and all of our OEM solutions we provide. This allows us a massive expansion of our assembly, production, and basically capabilities across the board for all of our products, not just the industrial ones, but all of our performance and enthusiast products as well.